Hey folks, Jordan with the Young Turks and TYT Politics. Hope you're doing well on this Sunday evening. The world has been shut out to me other than North Dakota. I don't know what the football scores are. I don't know what ridiculous thing Donald Trump has said within the last hour. I don't know what racist thing Donald Trump has said within the last hour. I don't know what's going on with the spineless corporate Democrats, but I'm sure you'll tell me in the comments. You know me. I try to be calm, cool, and collective. I probably could have gotten into a few fights on the campaign trail with Donald Trump supporters, Hillary Clinton supporters, Hillary Clinton advisors, but I try to keep it calm and collective. However, this will be a rant. And I say a rant because in America, some things have been normalized that should not be normalized. Crimes have been normalized that if they continue to be normalized, we will no longer live in a democracy with laws. Who the fuck is calling me in my hotel room? I'm not picking up. We will no longer live in a land with laws. We will live in a land of complete and utter oligarchy and anarchy. And that's what I've been seeing in Standing Rock, North Dakota. So, for those of you who are not paying attention, 2 days ago, the North Dakota Standing Rock Sioux tribe, who is at the center of this whole Standing Rock altercation, confrontation with Energy Transfer Partners, who's making the pipeline, and the Army Corps of Engineers, they received a letter from the Army Corps. The Army Corps basically said to them, you got a week more before you got to get the fuck off our land. I'm going to read you the letter. I'm going to give you my analysis of the letter. Frankly, I'm going to give you my analysis of Standing Rock's, I think, weak sauce response to that letter. And then I'm going to tell you what's going on the ground as we speak. So, again, they got this letter 2 days ago. Also, for housekeeping, if you haven't been paying attention, we've been turning out videos like assembly line style, youtube.com/TYT Politics. I think we just put up a video with James Cromwell, great actor. He called the police what they are, which is thugs. Put up an interview with, who was that person? A Native American veteran who said some really powerful things about the illegal behavior going on and what he went through in war compared to the war conditions here. The other day, I put up an interview with, we were exclusively on the scene as the police were basically creating a razor wire barricade around what they call Turtle Island. Turtle Island is a water body. Right behind it is a small mountain where Native American ancestors are. And basically they are building a razor wire barricade so that Native Americans cannot walk up to that hill where their ancestors are praying. So complete disrespect, desecration of burial grounds. Now, if we're moving backwards, I have been in contact with the Army Corps for weeks. The Army Corps has delayed its decision on whether to grant the final permit to Energy Transfer Partners, which would let them drill under Lake Oahe. Lake Oahe is the main water source for 18 million people, not just Native Americans, millions and millions of people downstream in South Dakota and elsewhere. So the Army Corps has basically been feeding me talking points, substanceless answers. When I asked them, what are you going to do now that the pipeline company has essentially said, well, we don't care what the Army Corps or Obama say, we're going to drill anyway. They essentially told me, well, we'll wait and see what happens. That's what they essentially told me. So let me read the letter that the Army Corps sent the chairman of Standing Rock Sioux Tribe, Dave Archambault. Pursuant to 36 CFR 327.12, whatever the hell that means, I am closing the portion of the Corps managed federal property north of the Cannibal River to all public use and access effective December 5th, 2016. So I want to stop right there. Because the media keeps perpetrating this lie. The media keeps perpetrating what the federal government says is so without giving context or history. This is not the federal government's land. This is not the Army Corps' land. This is the land of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. It's It's not the Army Corps' land, and it's not the federal government's land. They illegally stole the land, as they illegally stole America, if we're keeping it real, through manslaughter, through genocide, through all sorts of sinister things that most people don't recognize on Thanksgiving, which just passed a few days ago. So when you read letters pursuant to blah, 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 on closing the portion of the Army Corps land, the media has a responsibility to say, this is Native American land. This is Native American land as per the Fort Laramie Treaty of 1851 and 1868. So Donald Trump likes to talk about law and order, you know. We have an attorney general in the United States. We have a president who is supposed to be the person who enacts the law, enforces the law. We have police officers who are supposed to be the people who enforces the law. But in America, we all have lived in this bubble that if the federal government says it's their land, it's their land. No, 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 no. This is Native American land. So it's not just the Native Americans saying so. I've interviewed federal lawyers who have pointed out the legal law. And there is no gray area in this legal law. Okay? This is the Native American land as per the 1851 and 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty. And with the New York Times, who, last time I checked, has a shit ton more resources than little old me at the Young Turks, you would think their army of researchers, no pun intended on army, can just go into the archives and figure out that this is Native American land. So the fact that the Army Corps of Engineers is sending a letter telling the Native Americans of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe they need to get off the land in itself is ridiculous. It's not their land. Again, I've used the analogy. This would be like me getting robbed. I get out of the house. You know, the robber does what he wants. I try to get in to my house again, and I'm arrested for trespassing. That is the Standing Rock Sioux situation. That is this whole nightmare of a situation that has brought people together, fortunately. But that is this situation. It is centuries and centuries of Native American and indigenous people having their land stolen, having their tribesmen murdered, so that the United States government could do what it wants to do, expand its land, expand its resources, expand its wealth at the expense of people that they don't look at as human. That's what this is. So let me read the rest of it. The decision is necessary to protect the general public from the violent confrontations between protesters and law enforcement officials that have occurred in this area, and to prevent death, illness, or serious injury to inhabitants of encampments due to the harsh North Dakota winter conditions. Are you fucking kidding me right now? To protect the people from law enforcement officials, from, hold on, I gotta reread it. This decision is necessary, to protect the general public from violent confrontations. Why haven't you been protecting the public from violent confrontations dating back months ago? In September, human Native Americans and non-natives had their flesh bitten by dogs that were unleashed by this oil company who hired private mercenaries. You didn't have the light bulb go off then that people need protection? How about 3 weeks ago when a journalist named Aaron Schrode next to me got shot with a rubber bullet? Or Native Americans were getting shot with rubber bullets, tear gassed in the face, pepper sprayed in the face. Last week, a 21-year-old girl had her arm maimed. Sophia Wilansky from New York, a grenade shot off, which, because the media is completely fucking bought and lazy and can't be bothered to come out here, New York Times is the headline, the wounds of a water protector still under dispute. How those wounds came about, because the police tell them they didn't do it. So now, all of a sudden, now you want to protect people because of the violent confrontations with police and water protectors? No. There's not a violent confrontation between police and water protectors, because confrontation implies that there's two sides equally at fault. One side is not coming with anything other than prayer sticks and signs. This is not a dispute, and it's not a confrontation. It's an assault by oil police. And that's what I call them, because that's what they are. And you want to know something? Since bribery is legal in America, which Cenk always points out, the oil company has now offered to pay the bills of the police department. And by the way, the police department has not denied the offer. So there's no confrontation. There's no dispute. I've been here 5 times, dating back 3 months. I've not seen one Native American with a gun. I haven't seen one Native American fire a gun. I haven't seen one Native American with a knife. I haven't seen one Native American be aggressive. Apparently, it's aggressive if you breathe near police officers in North Dakota. Apparently, it's aggressive if you swim across a river, if you're a Native person, or build a wooden bridge to head over to a small mountain where your ancestors are buried to pray. Do you know that police the other day, when there was on one side there was police, on the other side there was water protectors put on gas masks because now for weeks they've been used to being gassed with chemical weapons, which you're not even supposed to use in war, tear gas, pepper spray. The police literally said on a microphone, "Take off your gas mask. That's an aggressive action." No, you're not in the Twilight Zone. I am, because I'm here, and it is insane. And let me tell you something. If a cop ever said to me or my Swedish white goofy cameraman, "White people, take off your gas mask, that's an aggressive act," if they ever pepper sprayed white people living in New York City, the National Guard would be there in 5 minutes. Okay? So this isn't just about water. It's not just about land. It's about the money in politics and the venom and the poison that is money in politics, allowing the wild, wild west to be perpetrated in North Dakota. And guess what? It's coming to your neighborhood next. Because if this pipeline gets put under a water source for 18 million people, it's open season for the rest of you. They'll put it right through a daycare center, put it right through a senior citizen's home. Black Lives Matter, forget it. This is open season for those who do not have money and for those who do not have the voice to fight back. So when you hear, "Oh, we need to protect, all people involved in the confrontations between police and or protesters," as they say, that is nonsense. Again, confrontation implies 2 people equally aggressive. There's only one side. And by the way, I'm a journalist. If I heard or saw that a Native American showed up with a gun, I'd report it. Even if I am more sympathetic to one side, I'm not going to whitewash what I see. I would report that this is an isolated incident because you can't report things that happen in a vacuum and generalize it. That's what the media likes to do. So if I saw a Native American or a couple Native Americans with guns or trying to be violent, I'd report it, but I would put the context that this has happened few and far between. But I have seen police officers standing with Uzis. I have seen police officers without flinching shoot people from point blank range with rubber bullets. I have seen with my not in person but on video grenades being fired off. We're not in Afghanistan. We're not in Syria. We're not in Iraq. We're on American soil in the middle of nowhere, North Dakota. And this is being allowed. While President Obama is off pardoning turkeys, Donald Trump's off at Mar-a-Lago and, tweeting that he's happy Fidel Castro died. This is the president-elect of the United States tweeting excitement with an exclamation point that Fidel Castro died. I'll get to that some other time. Let's move on with the letter. By the way, they're very concerned about the winter conditions. They got to remove the people from the camp because of the winter conditions. Hey, I got news for you. It's been cold for weeks here, but now they're suddenly concerned. By the way, there's a blizzard coming tonight, so I'll be here for the foreseeable future. I'm going to move on. The necessary emergency, medical, and fire response services, law enforcement, or sustainable facilities to protect people from these conditions on this property cannot be provided. I do not take this action lightly, but have decided that it is required due to the concern for public safety and the fact that much of this land is leased to private persons for grazing and or haying purposes as part of corpse land management practices. So this is a complete lie from the Army Corps of the United States. And by the way, it's coming from Barack Obama. Let's not pretend that the Army Corps of Engineers isn't just a puppet and Barack Obama isn't making these decisions. They work for President Obama, and President Obama If he didn't want this camp cleared out, if he wanted to respect Native Americans, if he ultimately was going to shut down this pipeline, they wouldn't be clearing out the camp. But let me explain why this is not true. They say the necessary emergency medical and fire response services, law enforcement, or sustainable or safety. God, it's so hard to read this. They say the necessary emergency medical and fire response services, law enforcement, or sustainable facilities to protect people from these conditions on this property cannot be provided. First of all, there is a blockade on the main route next to this camp because there's a blockade of police officers blocking the road to protect a private oil company to build its pipeline. So that's why it's not accessible from one part of the road where emergency vehicles cannot get in or cannot go through easily because there's been a police blockade there for weeks. Militarized police standing there instead of protecting people, protecting a private oil company. So that is greed out in the open. But to say it's not possible for emergency vehicles, medical and fire response services to get in, absolutely it is. If you've never been here, right now I'm at a hotel and casino. It is on Route 1806, Highway 1806. All you got to do is drive past my casino. You drive straight down about 10 minutes and you're at the camp. There is nothing blocking emergency vehicles, fire vehicles from getting down to camp. There is something blocking emergency vehicles and fire services from getting back to camp the other way. Yeah, a police blockade that has been there for weeks. So when you hear this, it's Army Corps of Engineers basically just saying shit that's not true and knowing they're going to get away with it because the mainstream media isn't here. I saw one Los Angeles Times reporter here who seemed to be caring about the story and asking a lot of questions. I spoke with them. The New York Times, they don't have anyone here. They have some freelance guy who streamed the grisly scenes from the bridge a few days ago. Now he's streaming for them. But the New York Times can't be bothered to send their own reporters here. All they do is secondhand reporting, basically becoming Pez dispensers. They're Pez dispensers who just propagate and utter propaganda what the police department tells them. Because you know how journalism is, that neutral journalism that the journalism professors teach you. You got to do it at all costs. You're supposed to be a robot. You're supposed to be neutral. What that is, police say this, protesters say this. We're too lazy to tell you the truth. We're too afraid of being called biased to tell you the truth. You fucking figure it out. That's the state of journalism in America. But it's a lie to say fire trucks, emergency trucks can't get into this camp. They absolutely can. And you know the fastest way to protect people from the grisly conditions of a North Dakota winter, which I've been told can go anywhere between 60 and 80 below zero? Shut down the fucking Dakota pipeline. That's the fastest way. Everybody will go home. There'll be one night of streaking and then everybody will go home and we'll all be home for the holidays. That's how you do it, folks. Moving on. To be clear, this means that no members of the general public, to include Dakota Access Pipeline protesters, can be on these corpse land. Again, it's not corpse land. The Corps of Engineers has established a free speech zone on the land south of the Cannonball River for anyone wishing to peacefully protest the Dakota Access Pipeline project, subject to the rules of 36 CFR Part 327. You know what really stands out to me about this free speech zone? It's what a young Native American woman said yesterday. She was speaking at a press conference. She's a water protector. I think she was in her early 20s. She said, "I thought America was a free speech zone. I didn't know you have to go to specific pockets of America to have free speech." So the Army Corps is basically saying you could leave. You have to leave the main camp, which is the only one logistically that can fit the thousands of people that are there right now. And they're basically moving them over to a camp called Rosebud Camp, which is a little south of where the main camp is, and then Sacred Stone Camp, which is further south of the main camp. The main camp is called Osheti-Sakoan, by the way. The problem, you can't fit these thousands of people on this land where they're telling them to go. And the Army Corps knows that. There's no way that you can move thousands of people who are all... By the way, just so you know, the logistics and the practicality, these people have been building small wooden homes for weeks. I've been back here the last 2 times. They have been building and building and building and building. It's actually a beautiful thing. There's been a lot of communities that have formed, a lot of teamwork, a lot of people who have become second families, and they have built up their tents. They have winterized these tents. They have insulated these tents. And now they're being told they have to basically get off the property and to hell with all the work you have done. And the Army Corps is telling them they could go to 2 other camps that aren't big enough to house the thousands of people that need their, quote, free speech zone. So basically they're just saying you have a free speech zone, but they're in practicality getting rid of them. That's what they're doing. Moving on. In these areas, jurisdiction for police, fire, and medical response is better defined, making it a more sustainable area for visitors to endure the harsh North Dakota winter. That makes no fucking sense. They're literally telling these people to move 20 feet to the camps south of the main camp. I promise you, if it's 80 degrees below zero in the main camp, it's probably going to be 80 degrees below zero 10 feet down the road. So I don't even know what that means, but it's hogwash. And in these areas, jurisdiction for police, fire, and medical response is better defined. What are they even talking about jurisdiction? There are no laws in North Dakota. North Dakota is the wild, wild west. Police can arrest people without reading them their rights. They could not tell you what you're charged with for days. They could illegally strip search women. They could throw women in jail cells overnight naked, which I've reported on. They could withhold people's medicine from them in jail. They could break into your car and steal your camera equipment without a warrant. I mean, that's just an average Tuesday here in North Dakota. And they're talking about jurisdiction. It's the arrogance and the corruption has no bounds here. And they're getting away with it because we have a president who's out pardoning turkeys, golfing, and traveling abroad, while human rights violations and war is being perpetrated here, which I'll get to. So, for your reference, please find an enclosed map marked as Exhibit A, which delineates this free speech zone area, as well as shows the corpse land north of the Cannonball River that will be prohibited from public use. Any person found to be on the corpse land north of the Cannonball River after December 5th, 2016 will be considered trespassing and may be subject to prosecution under federal, state, and local laws. Furthermore, any person who chooses to stay on these corpse land north of the Cannonball River does so at their own risk and assumes any and all corresponding liabilities for their unlawful presence and occupation of such lands. So, if you die, if you have hypothermia, it's not our fault. It's on you. That's what that means. We're passing the buck. Again, all this could go away if the Army Corps would stop dilly-dallying, would fucking make a decision. President Obama would stop kicking the can down the road to the orange orangutan who's going to become president. But he has no courage, our president. You know what? I would have a lot more respect for President Obama. The people here would have a lot more respect for President Obama if he just said, this pipeline's going through. Take a stand. We're not gonna stand for it, but take a stand. Stop. What more time do you need? What are they looking at? They know the statistics on oil leaks. They know the statistics for this company, Energy Transfer Partners, how many oil leaks they have had, how many oil leaks their subsidiaries have had. By the way, Energy Transfer Partners was just bought by Sunoco Logistics. Sunoco Logistics tops the charts of American crude oil company spills. Look it up. Sunoco Logistics. So, they say anybody who's on the land to December 5th will be considered trespassing. Hey, Army Corps, I got a question for you. Have you gone out and arrested the militarized oil police that are standing on Army Corps land? Because they are trespassing. You have said all along they cannot be on Army Corps land. Well, the mountain they are standing on above Turtle Island, I've seen the map, that is your land. And they are not supposed to be there. So unless you have given them permission to be there, which would be news to me, when is the fucking battalion coming in to arrest these oil police that are standing on top of your land, according to you? It's not really your land because you stole it, but they're standing on top of Native American graves and putting razor wire fences around. When are you coming in with the battalion? I will be the Paul Revere of the 21st century. I'll warn them. So, they're telling you any person who stays there just does so at their own risk. There are currently many Title 36 violations occurring on the corpse land north of the Cannibal River, including but not limited to unauthorized structures, fires, improper disposal of waste, and camping. Additionally, any tribal government that sponsors such illegal activity is assuming the risks for those persons who remain on these lands. All right, now I'm going to go fucking nuclear. So these Army Corps stooges are talking about the various Title 36 violations that are going on. Right? I don't know what Title 36 is. I'm not going to bullshit you. Including, including fires, improper disposal of waste, and camping. This is the breach of law that we need to be concerned with in America. How about a 21-year-old girl whose arm was maimed? She still might lose it. At this point, she's had between 5 and 10 surgeries. She's a 21-year-old girl who had a grenade launched at her. How about her? Does that violation of law matter? Or should we focus on the garbage on the ground? And you know what? In fairness, Native Americans do care about pollution and garbage on the ground. The chairman of the tribe said in my interview with him yesterday, which you could watch on TYT Politics, that we need to take care of Mother Earth. But you're telling me in this ridiculous letter that, oh my God, there's garbage on the ground and there's fires being started. Yeah, fires to keep warm. It is winter in North Dakota. A woman has essentially lost her arm. Even if she keeps her arm, she's going to have barely any feeling on it. There's another woman who's in surgeries to save her eye because of tear gas that was put in her eye. There's women who have been thrown in jail naked overnight. There are hundreds of people who have PTSD all over this camp. I've talked to many of them. One girl I just interviewed yesterday was tear gassed in her eye. During the interview, she could barely talk to me. She's dizzy a week later. And we care about garbage on the floor and campfires being started? President Obama, you took an oath to protect against foreign and domestic terrorists. What is this? Is this having tea and cake? Pepper spraying people? Tear gassing them? Not a person has a gun. And let me tell you something. The media, who I know isn't watching this, if a Black Lives Matter protest, if somebody was shot with a grenade and had to have his arm nearly amputated, it would be wall to wall on the news. Rightly so. It should be wall to wall. And there should be reporters out there. But here, if there's an oil company involved, if Native Americans are involved, no. We got to report what's going on. Who's walking in and out of Donald Trump's tower to kiss his ring? We can't be bothered to talk about a girl's arm being nearly blown off, or women being savaged in jails, or women being arrested, and as they drive you to the jail, police officers pumping and stopping on the brakes and laughing at you, which I interviewed a girl who that happened to her. Are we in America or are we in North Korea? Because I can't tell the difference. Maybe I need to go to North Korea. Maybe in North Korea, I'll be treated a little better. People here will be treated a little better. At least the food might be better. When people talk about Donald Trump has normalized racism, which is true, you know what? The wild, wild west has been normalized out here. Human rights violations have been normalized out here. Unlawful war has been, well, it hasn't been normalized because America has been an unlawful law way before I was born. Centuries, decades at this point. And and the media wants to start writing their puff pieces about Barack Obama's just terrific legacy. And we want to talk about, who's going to be Secretary of State? And oh my God, how could Donald Trump pick Mitt Romney after he gave that speech a few months ago? Oh my gosh! Are you out of your mind? There's people almost dead here. And by the way, I hate to say it, there are people who are going to die because people are left in a camp and it's going to get anywhere between 20 to 60 degrees below zero. And not everybody are set up for camp. And the right-wingers will say, well, that's their dumbass decision to be out there. But you know what? Some people are fighting not just for water, not just for land, but for their kids and their grandkids. And they're living off of passion. something that right-wingers don't understand often. So when I hear this bullshit and this nonsense about, oh, there's garbage on the ground, which, by the way, I've been at the camp. There's not a lot of garbage on the ground. They keep it pretty clean for the amount of people that are there. There's no alcohol allowed in the camp. There's no drugs allowed in the camps. The worst they have is Coca-Cola, which I've been drinking like a chain smoker. But in America, the only laws being broken that we care about are by Native Americans and hippies that join them. There are a lot of hippies. We love you. Who might maybe dropped a Twix bar on the ground or started a fire to keep warm. This is what law enforcement in their militarized gear and Barack Obama needs to stop from happening. Tear gassing, it's okay. Pepper spraying, okay. Shooting people in the face with rubber bullets, what are you going to do? They breathed in our airspace. We had no choice. This is outrageous. Outrageous. And I'm not saying this to get views. And I'm not saying this is a shtick. I'm saying it because I truly, passionately feel it. I grew up middle class. I was not disrespected by police. I was never manhandled by police. I had friends that were, but never directly to me. I never struggled for food. I didn't get a job right away, but most of the time, I had help to advance in my career. I've had it fairly good compared to other people. I wasn't rich, but I wasn't poor. But let me tell you something. This is ground zero for the haves and the haves not. This is ground zero for the 99% and the 1%. This is ground zero for unfettered greed versus humanity. Because let me tell you something, folks. If this goes through, it's not if the oil spills, it's when. And if you allow this to go through, and the oil spills, and like every other oil spill, they don't clean it up, and people get sick, and animals die, they're allowed to act they're allowed to keep doing what they do. Because the people who run these oil companies and their puppets in the federal government that they buy off, they're not human. All they care about is money. And to tell you the truth, it's not even money they care about, it's power. It's power. They want to rule the world. And so far, they've been allowed to. And President Obama, he promised to part the Red Sea, and then he went through the sea and he realized, oh, I can make some money if I turn around. That's what's going on here. And I hope President Obama proves me wrong. I will come on here and I will call you the great saint of Hawaii. And I will say I was wrong. I hope so. But so far, you've allowed people to be assaulted. You've allowed people to nearly die. And unfortunately, people might die. I'm not going to read the rest of the letter. That's the most important thing. So what's been going on here? I've been doing interviews. They're all up at youtube.com/2ytpolitics. I just interviewed a fun kid. He was wearing a Bernie Sanders full-on onesie. I don't know what the hell he was wearing, but it was Bernie on the outside, Bernie on the inside, and he directly called for Senator Sanders to get here. Now, I've defended Bernie Sanders in the past. I love the guy. I don't make any bones about it, but Bernie Sanders should come down here. I don't know what to tell you. It's that simple. He doesn't need to be here for 3 days. He should come down here to Standing Rock, show his support, because not only will the mainstream media, because they're fucking, little tool dolls that, they're like little dogs who salivate on a shiny new toy. If Bernie comes down here, obviously more people will come down here and be inspired by Senator Sanders coming down here. All he needs is a few hours down here. He needs to come down here and put his money where his mouth is. And I have friends that work for him that probably won't like me saying that, but fuck it. That's the truth. He should get down here. Because, and by the way, he's done a lot not being down here. He's been the leading senator standing against this in speeches and emails and direct pleas with President Obama. And I'm fully aware he needs to be in Washington right now because the Republicans and the corporate Democrats are going to try to ram through some crazy right-wing neoliberal shit in the lame duck session. But he can afford to come down here for a few hours. The country won't burn on. D.C. will not burn without him. So Bernie, I hope you watched the video. You guys, what you could do, go to youtube.com/2ytpolitics. There's 1,400 people watching this right now. There's going to be thousands more that watch it after it's live. Go to youtube.com/2ytpolitics. Click on the video. I think the headline is Bernie Sanders, come to Standing Rock. Share the video. Let's get those views up. Bernie Sanders, you know what I'm saying. I've asked you for an interview 100 times. I would rather never interview you in my career and you come down to Standing Rock if that was the choice I had. I think it's so important. I'm not even going to get into Chuck Schumer or Nancy Pelosi. Those people wouldn't go down to a buffet called Standing Rock, let alone Standing Rock. Now, I'm probably going to be here through December 5th. December 5th is the day that they say they are essentially evicting the people who have been living at this camp for months. That is the same day, December 4th and 5th, there are thousands of veterans who will be coming down to Standing Rock. I'm not going to speculate what they're doing, whether they will be armed. I don't know. I've heard things, but I can't confirm or deny anything. Once I have more information, I will tell you, but I do know thousands of veterans are coming. I do know they've seen the complete assault on citizens that they were sworn to protect, and the federal government is supposed to be protecting, but are instead assaulting. And they're not coming to have tea and cake with the police. So December 5th will be a very, very interesting day. I will be here to cover it. I've been here 5 times. Again, this story to me is not just about water. It's not just about land. Everything we have talked about in this movement that has been born over the last 2 years with Bernie Sanders, followed by Jill Stein and others, it's all here. It's hanging over here because this is the buying off of our elected officials. This is the complete toxicity of money in politics. Money in politics and politicians' unending desire and desperation to stay in office is allowing them to look the other way as the citizens they are supposed to be representing and the people they're supposed to protect are being assaulted by oil goons. They're not even police. And they're doing it because these same companies are going to flood them with money for their next campaign. Not only should that be illegal, but that's immoral. And all these fucking people should be not only voted out of office, they should be put in jail. You know, all joking aside, I've had a freelance cameraman with me the last few days. His name's Adam. I'll put his information in this video so you could go to his website. He does great work. He says to me, in Sweden, the police, I mean, you stop on the street, you talk. What did you tell me? They're looked at as kind, Adam?
Cute and kind.
They're looked at as cute and kind.
Compared to this.
Protectors, not warriors.
Protectors, not warriors. He can't believe the shit he's seeing here. And that's from Sweden. You want to talk about Donald Trump makes America the laughingstock around the country? What Barack Obama is doing, but more importantly not doing right now, is making America the shame of the world. Why do we have to bother stopping what's going on in Syria? It's going on right here. We're being gassed. You know what tear gas is? I could go on, and I'm sure I will in the next few days. But what I want to get across, I don't tell you what to do. I've never told you who to vote for. I've never told you to donate if you want. If you want to donate, I've been putting the donation links under each video. I've been putting the phone numbers you could call. If you want to call the Army Corps, if you want to call the Department of Justice, if you want to call the White House, if you want to call Energy Transfer Partners, which is the oil company building this pipeline. But what I do think you should do, call your local official. Chuck Schumer has never said a word about this. Nancy Pelosi has never said a word about this. Elizabeth Warren has not said a word about this. Saint Elizabeth Warren, who couldn't be bothered to endorse Bernie Sanders, or at least have the courage to endorse Hillary Clinton during the primary. She's done some good things since, but she can't be bothered to make a comment about Dakota Access Pipeline. Cory Booker, that bastion of bullshit from New Jersey, can't be bothered to comment. Tim Ryan, who's now wanting to become the minority leader, I don't know what he said about Standing Rock. I mean, we know where the Republicans stand. We don't need to challenge the Republicans. Mitch McConnell's never seen an oil company he doesn't love. Paul Ryan, I'm sure he beats off in the shower to pictures of pipelines. So I'm not calling for violence. I don't want that. Nobody in this movement should want this. But Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Elizabeth Warren, Tim Ryan, Barack Obama, Joe Biden. Should we just send them off on their way into the sunset? No. Find out their phone lines. Find out where their offices are. If you choose to go, go. Because if you allow politicians to be bought off, if you allow politicians to do whatever the hell they want, they're going to keep doing it. But if you light a fire under their ass, if you show them, we are going to kick your ass out of office, they will do. Not the right thing, because they should be doing the right thing because it's the right thing, but they will do the politically expedient thing. And that's to shut down this pipeline. That's my report from Standing Rock. I am going to have dinner soon. I will actually be coming on live again after dinner for a special late night edition of Rants with Jordan, where I'll be talking about Donald Trump, our president-elect of the United States, who has some money involved in this pipeline. I'll also be talking about Chuck Schumer, the minority leader of the Democrats, who says, oh, well, we don't need to make drastic changes. We just need to make small changes. Hillary Clinton didn't lose by a lot, only a little. If this ball bounced this way and that, I will have comment on that. But right now, I need some steak. I need some wine. So come back to me. I don't want to say a time, but it will happen tonight. Drink some Merlot. Have a s'more. Maybe halftime during the game. Watch me. Thank you for watching. YouTube.com/TYTPolitics.